Yeah, I mean, I'm just like constantly obsessively consuming new music and books or movies or whatever. Um, it's really important to me.
Hey, this is Blattus, and this video is about Grimes. So Grimes is just an interesting person, so I thought looking at some interviews of her would be pretty fascinating. She's just an immensely creative person. So she creates music, she creates art, and it seems like even when she talks, it's just a flow of creativity. So she really taps into that in her projects. So I hope you find this inspirational for your projects.
And then the first music I made kind of went viral, which was both a blessing and a curse because like there's a lot of footage of me like it literally learning how to make music. I've been making music for less than a year and I'm like on stage and stuff. um, there's some pretty awkward video of me like being like, I accidentally turned the SP404 off. Sorry guys. And people,
Did you play any instruments as a kid? Or?
No. A friend needed backup vocals and he's like, I just need a girl. You don't have to sing, be good at singing. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. So I did it. And then I was like, oh, this is easier than I thought it would be. And then I wanted to like record myself. So I just got another friend to show me how to use GarageBand. And then I just started making beats.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Grimes is ultimately a pop project. I consider pop to be just music that is ultimately extremely gratifying. It's music that just seeks to hit the pleasure center.
But I'd constantly be getting emails from like producers and stuff being like, I'd love to like work on some tracks on your album. People just offering to do your job all the time. And it's just like infuriating. I mean, even just to get to the point where I could like produce my own record, like, why else am I here? Like, I don't want to be just like the face of like this thing that I built. I want to be the person who built it. I started for the first time writing in other people's voices. It was a huge door for me when I first started trying to write music for other people. Because suddenly you don't have to feel self-conscious. Lyrically, it's also so much easier. You're like, oh, well, this doesn't have to be something my parents are going to hear and think, wow, I can't believe you did that. Which is actually a huge, probably one of my biggest hindrances as an artist is like my parents or grandparents being upset by my lyrics being, not PG or too weird or something.
And then like once I started doing it, I mean, it's been really interesting to me to see how much you can actually just create this, I don't want to say like fantasy, but you can just, I'm in the process of molding reality. I'm coming to like take great pleasure out of building this idea of what Grimes is and controlling everything about it and really just being able to like all I do all day is just make creative decisions.
I feel like there was like 8 years where I just like couldn't get over my first friend who passed away because I was like very, very close with her. Like it was just really intense. Like when you're that young to have like one of your best friends die in such a like disturbing way, I guess. I've never actually done heroin, but it is a little bit about being self-destructive and like how you feel being self-destructive after your friend died. Like you're just like shitting on your friend's grave by just like dealing with the grief by doing this thing that killed them, basically. How do we emotionally deal with this stuff? Do you know like Jack Kirby's New Gods? I just got really compelled by the title. I was like, yeah, I want to make new gods. I want to make like the goddess of climate change, or in this case, like the goddess of like opioid addiction. Some of the first great art that we see is like the personification of painful or beautiful abstract concepts as gods. Maybe that helps people cope better, and maybe that helps society come together better. It seems easier to digest certain things when they're fictionalized. So this song is kind of meant to be sort of like about the goddess of addiction, the demon of addiction, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like constantly obsessively consuming new music and books or movies or whatever. It's really important to me.
Forcing yourself to engage with new music is really great for neuroplasticity. Like I think as people, part of the reason music is marketed at young people is because young people are very neuroplastic. Right. So like if you're 16 to like 23 or whatever, it's going to be really easy for you to love new music. And if you're older than that, it gets harder and harder and harder. And I think one of the beautiful things about being a musician is I just constantly force myself to listen to new music. And I think it keeps my brain really plastic. And I think this is a really good exercise. I just think everyone should do this. You listen to new music and you hate it, I think you should just force yourself to like, okay, well, why do people like it? And like, make your brain form new neural pathways and be more open to change.
But here's the thing. I feel like there's this desire for authenticity. I used to be like really mad when like people wouldn't write or produce their music, and I'd be like, that's fake. And then I realized, there's all this like weird bitterness and like aggroness in art about authenticity.
Yeah.
But I had this kind of like weird realization recently, where I started thinking that like art is sort of a decentralized collective thing. Like art is kind of a conversation with all the artists that have ever lived before you. You know, like it's like you're really just sort of. It's not like anyone's reinventing the wheel here. Like you're kind of just taking, you know, thousands of years of art and like running it through your own little algorithm, and then like making your interpretation of it.
You're just joining the conversation with all the other artists that came before. It's such a beautiful way to look at it.
Like, and it's like I feel like everyone's always like, there's all this copyright and IP and this and that, and or authenticity, and it's just like I think we need to stop seeing this as this like egotistical thing of like, oh, the creative genius, the lone creative genius, or this or that, because it's like, I think art shouldn't be about that. I think art is something that sort of brings humanity together, and art is also kind of the collective memory of humans. It's like we don't give a fuck about whatever ancient Egypt, like how much grain got sent that day and sending the records, and like, you know, like who went where, and you know how many shields needed to be produced for this. Like we just remember their art, and it's like, you know, it's like in our day-to-day life, there's all this stuff that seems more important than art, because it helps us function and survive. But when all this is gone, like the only thing that's really going to be left is the art. The technology will be obsolete.
That's so fascinating.
Like the humans will be dead.